Irene, are you there?
Ave Maria, Father, present po. Good afternoon.
Afternoon. Father Jesuraj is here inside the classroom. Sister Eva.
Ave Maria po,
Eva
Father,
Cabidoy.
present po.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon po.
Martel de Guzman. Are you here, Martel? Sister Chris de Quiros. Sister
Father,
Chris.
present Father.
Okay, thank you. Sister
Happy solemnity po.
Hello, happy feast day. Sister Gina.
Ave Maria, Father. Present
Okay,
po.
thank you. Sister Juliet.
Ave Maria, present po, Father. Ave Maria.
Thank you. Sister Alice. Elioran.
Present, Father. Present po.
Hello, good
Happy feast day.
afternoon.
Good
Father
afternoon,
Kim.
Father.
Good afternoon, Father Kim.
Present po, Padre.
Okay, Father Kim. Sister Kim Sung Mi.
Present, Father. Happy feast day.
Happy feast day, Father Chris. Labrador.
Present, Father. Present.
Afternoon. Leba Ngokkoin. Sister Leba.
Present, Father.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Father.
Letty
Present,
Fook.
Father.
Are you there? Sister
Yes.
Letty Fook. Okay.
Yes, present, Father.
She
Good
led the
afternoon.
opening prayer at the Youth Ministry Conference.
Yeah.
Okay, Sister Marie Chris.
Father, present po. I'm
Present.
in Calatagan, Batangas.
In Batangas,
Swimming.
wow.
Swimming.
Okay.
Okay,
Sis-
but I'll be here, Father. I'm listening po.
Okay, thank you. Sister Nuento Yen is in the classroom. Okay. Sister Jennifer Ober. Sister Jennifer, are you there? Wala pa? Father Fan Banday. Fan Banday, are you there?
Present,
Wala?
Father.
Oh, you're there, okay. Father Albertus is here inside the classroom. Sister Leoncia. Leoncia, are you there? Okay, later. Sister Anna. You are here.
Present,
okay.
Father.
Okay, thank you. Sister
Good
Anna.
afternoon. Present, Father. Good afternoon
Okay.
po.
Afternoon. Sister Leoncia is here also, no?
Yes po.
Okay. Sister Trang Titu Trang.
Present, Father.
Okay. And Sister Ella Emanuela.
Good afternoon po, Father.
Okay, you're present. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's continue our discussion. I think we did mention this last class, but let's go back to it regarding temporary profession. That's in Canon 653, paragraph 2. So all of us in the class, in all our religious congregations, we all have temporary professions, no, within our congregations. Now the number of years might vary. A good number have 1 year of temporary profession. Okay, just to scan, not everyone, but just to scan Siervas de Jesus, no, sister? For the Siervas de Jesus, how many years of temporary profession?
From 6
6 to 9. But when you profess for temporary vows, how many years validity? So it can be 6 years when you profess. When do you renew? So it's every year. OMI, Oblates of Mary Immaculate. It's also every year. Is there anyone in this class wherein the congregation, the validity of a temporary profession is 2 years? Anyone?
As Father, as Missionary Sisters of Our Lady of the Angels.
Okay,
2
so
years.
2 years. Then the
Yes.
sister renews after 2
After
years.
2 years po, yes. And if there's something, then they can choose to renew by 1 year.
Okay.
After 2 years, then they think there's something that they have to discern more, then they can request for 1 year.
For 1 year. Other congregations with 2 years validity of a temporary profession. So practically everyone has 1 year. No, every year it is renewed. So let's see. Okay, just to inform you, for us Jesuits, when we 2 years novitiate, and then we profess the vows, first vows. We don't profess temporary; it is perpetual. So that's it. So we do not renew temporary profession because our first vows after 2 years of novitiate is already perpetual. So let's see. So who the novice? Okay, whether your novitiate is 1 year or 2 years of novitiate, is to be admitted to temporary profession. Of course, there are certain conditions before admission to temporary profession. So what are these conditions? Okay, the first, of course, the novitiate should be completed. And at the end of the novitiate formation, the person should be judged to be suitable. No? And that is precisely the purpose of the novitiate formation, so that the novice master or the novice mistress can assess whether the person is judged suitable. Okay, if the person is not judged suitable, then the novice will be dismissed. Okay, that's the normal track. No? You're given. Remember, the young man or the young woman has already undergone a good deal of preparation and discernment. No, for most of our congregations, we have aspirancy, then you have postulancy, and then you have also novitiate. So that's at least 3 years. No. So normally, the novice, if judged to be unsuitable, and also, of course, when the novice decides for himself or herself that this might not be the vocation for him or her, then he or she will be dismissed. Now, of course, you see there the word however. So in canon law, there are a lot of these. No, this is the main. This is the standard way of doing things. There's always a however. Now there are always it's instead of a period in canon law, it's always a comma or a ellipse, no, 3 dots like that. No. So what is the however here? The time of probation, meaning the time of novitiate, may be prolonged. No? If after that year of novitiate formation, you yourselves have many experiences probably about this. No, it might be possible that the candidate, the novice, is not quite sure yet. No, around not really ready to decide yet. That's one reason. No, that's one factor for the prolongation of novitiate formation, meaning the person is not yet ready to profess the vows. In some cases, the novice might feel he or she is ready. However, the formator, the novice master or novice mistress, might still feel, this person needs a little more time for formation. Now, that little more time, we have to really consider seriously within the extension, within the prolongation of the time of probation. Can there be something really reasonable that can be achieved? If the person has a very serious psycho-emotional problem, that cannot be solved within the next few months of the prolongation of the novitiate formation. So there, if there's a certain doubt that exists regarding suitability, no? Definitely the one to assess is the formator, no? And then there has to be some validation also of the formator's assessment on the part of the candidate, no? If the candidate has a good deal of self-awareness, then there has to be some level of validation. Oh yes, yes, Father, Novice Master, yeah, you're right. This is something I still need to work on. Then the prolongation or the extension may be done, but not more than 6 months. Postponement of vows should not exceed 6 months. Okay? And that is much more true for us, for congregations with a 2-year novitiate formation. So for us Jesuits, we have 2 years of novitiate formation. Other congregations with 2 years of novitiate, OMI, I think. 1 year, 1 year. So
Same. You cannot extend more than 6 months.
not more than 6 months, only within 6 months. Any other congregation with 2 years novitiate? I heard already before, some of you mentioned you have 2 years.
Our congregation,
Okay, which congregation?
Daughters of the Five Seal, 2 years.
FDC, Siervas de
Yes.
Jesus, 2 years. Okay, Sister Marie Chris, yours is 2
Father.
years.
Ours
Okay,
is
and, Sister
2 years
Chris,
po, Father,
CST.
2 years novitiate.
Yeah, so many, a good number have 2 years of novitiate. Huh? So 2 years plus postulancy plus aspirancy, that should be more or less sufficient time, no, to make a decision. We're not talking about perpetual profession. Huh? We're still talking about a temporary profession. So therefore, give time around 6 months, not beyond 6 months. Okay, a person now during the time already temporarily professed, no? During this time of temporary profession may leave, no? May request to leave. I heard that many of your congregations have 1 year validity of the temporary vow. Now, why would you want to leave within the year? During the year, can't you wait for the end of 1 year? So that the validity of that 1 year temporary vow expires? I'm asking that question because there is some complications here. If a person decides or we are talking about indulge to live. This initiative comes from the sister himself or the brother or the seminarian himself. This is voluntary departure. Huh? Look at the process. First, there has to be a grave reason. It has to be grave. It should not just be a simple reason for the desire to depart. While the profession is valid, poverty, chastity, and obedience. So there has to be a grave reason for that. Now, the procedure is this. The permission has to be given by the general. By the general. So that requires a good deal of paperwork, no, and process. Even if one is just in temporary profession, and then the general should still meet with his or her council, and they have to vote on it, no, on the person with temporary vows of 1 year. So the other option really for the formator is to continue dialoguing with the person, with the religious, and consider just the expiration of that 1 year of temporary profession. Okay, the indulge to live, as I mentioned, is it is voluntary. It is from the initiative of the religious himself or herself. Now, regarding this again, the voluntary departure, the person, upon the completion of the time or of the term, mostly 1 year of temporary profession, is free to do so if he or she wishes to leave the institute. Okay, it's just a matter of not applying anymore for a renewal of the temporary vows. Okay, I suppose this happens in our religious congregations, no? Okay, questions so far regarding this area of temporary profession and then departure from temporary profession. You might have had some questions in your religious congregations about it.
Father, question.
Yes, please.
Father, what about if the congregation will be the one to ask to leave? The
Okay.
candidate, the sister. An example, she has still like 6 months before the completion. So
Okay. Yes, we will discuss that soon. Here it's called imposed departure, no? So we will see that in a while. Okay, so let's go into this. It's Canon 689. Now the competent major superior can exclude a member from making a further profession, okay, upon the completion of a term of temporary profession. So this is not what sister is asking, no? Because from what sister is asking, the person is right within the valid temporary vows. This one is the expiration, completion of a term of temporary profession. So the departure can be imposed after consulting his or her counsel. Now, this means the person will not anymore have his or her vows renewed. Yeah. So many. This happens a lot among our fourth-year theologians, no? By the time they would have completed a good number of years, at least 3 years of temporary profession, and then soon enough they will be ordained deacons. So the superiors, the formators, and the major superior will have to decide whether to grant perpetual vows for the fourth-year seminarians, because perpetual vows is required before diaconate ordination. So for some, okay, it's for some, not for most. For most, they are given perpetual vows, and then that paves the way for their diaconate ordination. But there have been cases, a few of them, who are not given perpetual vows. So meaning they really had to leave. It's an imposed departure. They were not given perpetual vows. No? So this one also includes non-renewal of temporary vows. That is what we call imposed departure. And then in this case, no, for just reasons, there has to be a just reason for the non-renewal of temporary vows for a religious. Now, in the case of one in temporary vows, and then the superiors decide it's dismissal, no? The person is to be dismissed from the institute while on temporary vows. Again, that has to, since there is a valid ongoing vows, the provincial, together with his or her council, will have to make a decision. And then in this case, it has to reach the superior general, no, for approval of the supreme moderator. The reason is there is a valid ongoing vow. No, the evangelical councils are valid. So that does not just rest on the local provincial. It has to be decided by the general. So what are the requirements for the validity of temporary profession? So we have here a group of sisters. I think these are RVM sisters. I'm just not sure if they're professing perpetual vows or temporary vows. Sister Alice might know. Okay, one to profess the vows, one should have reached the age of majority. One should be 18. No? That is the age of majority wherein a person will be fully capable of making a decision. No? Hi, sister. Welcome. You're here. Okay, next. The novitiate should have been made validly, of course. No? If the novitiate has been invalidly made, so there can be no valid temporary vows. Okay? And of course, the admission to profession has been granted freely by the major superior. So in other words, if the major superior was forced or coerced or threatened by the parents of the religious, that cannot be a valid temporary vows. No? And of course, the major superior has to vote. No? He has to gather his or her council and make a vote together, no? To approve the temporary profession. So apparently, in this case, the general does not have to decide. No, it's the major superior or the provincial will have to decide. This does not have to go high up to the generalate for temporary profession. Of course, the act of temporary profession held during the Mass, it should be explicit. No? It has to be verbalized. And normally we have it written, no? Okay, we write the formula, the vows, no? It depends on each congregation. There are certain formalities there. In our case, no, for the Jesuits, it's not enough that the vows are typewritten and signed. It has to be written by hand. And then at the day of our vows, we recite the vows, and then we sign the formula that we have just professed. So I guess in many cases, okay, let me ask you, which among you, upon profession of temporary vows, should have a handwritten text? Handwritten, okay? Okay, raise your hand if you need to have a handwritten profession of vow. Pwede na ba naka-type sa inyo? For others, it suffices that it is typed. But you have to sign it by hand. No, it cannot be a soft copy of the attachment. You attach a digital copy of your signature. It has to be written by hand. A lot of that depends also on our traditions within our religious congregation. Is there anyone in your congregation that you need to sign by your blood? Blood compact, something like that? No one, no? Okay, good. My goodness. That's terrifying. Okay, next. Okay, the profession should be received by the lawful superior. Huh? It cannot just be anyone receiving the vows of the religious. So it might happen if there is a certain issue within the congregation. That does not happen most of the time. So now, if the provincial or the major superior is not available, he has to delegate, no, to assign somebody to receive the vows on his or her behalf. There has to be a written delegation, no. Now it cannot just be verbal. Oh, I'm not available. I'll be in Davao. Also, my executive secretary can receive your vows. No? There has to be a real formality that can be proven in the external forum that there is a document of delegation for that person made by the major superior or the provincial. Okay? According to Canon 655, the period during wherein one is in temporary vows should not be more than 9 years. No? Normally, it's 3 to 6, no, within temporary profession. No? But the law says, yes, it can be extended maximum 9 years within temporary profession. Because more than 9 years, it's already unjust. No? Why continue to delay? On the one hand, why should the religious superiors delay and delay and delay the granting of perpetual vows? But on the other hand, also, Why can't the religious himself or herself make a final decision? No, I'm not yet ready. I'm not yet ready. I need more time to profess perpetual vows. I wonder if that has happened in your congregations, no? Delay of profession of perpetual vows. It is an unjust situation if the congregation will keep delaying, no? Especially the profession of perpetual vows. Has that happened in your congregations? The delay in the granting of perpetual vows? None? No problem? Very good. Not yet. Not yet. Okay. Now, according to Canon 660, paragraph 2, during the period of formation, members are not to be given offices and undertakings which hinder in their formation. Yeah. I think there might be some congregations that are guilty regarding this matter, giving them major assignments, no? Even if they are not yet, perpetually professed, no? I understand because usually, after novitiate, many sisters, profess temporary vows and then they become juniors, di ba? Now, what are the assignments that juniors are given? No? What are the assignments that they are given? Yeah, they're sent to the missions. What's the usually is it exposure like that? But some are given as responsibilities, no? Okay, can I ask what responsibilities are given to juniors in your congregations? Okay, can I ask directly? Okay, how about the Daughters of Divine Zeal? What are the assignments that your juniors are given?
Yes. Actually, Father, it depends. It depends on the needs of the congregation. Some were assigned in teaching, but like you said,
Yeah.
sometimes a junior also, like one of my junior also she was assigned for like treasurer, and is that a big place also? That is a big responsibility. Responsibility also.
Okay.
Yeah, like that.
The RVM sisters, Sister Alice, what are the examples of assignments to? Okay, first of all, a good number of juniors are assigned to study also, no, for their ongoing formation. But after studies, usually the juniors are given assignments. What are the examples of assignments in the RVM?
So ours, Father, first year po in junior rate, intensive theological study po, Father, and then after that, while they are studying mga scholars, working scholars, Father, they're
Okay.
studying in summer, pero within the school year po, they are assigned to as a campus minister, as a CL teacher. They're already in the classroom, Father, because they are being trained to be
Yes.
administrators in the school. But yeah, there are many instances, Father, na say for example po the sister entered as like example 30 or 31 years old and already been teaching in the school and already been like for example sample academic coordinator when she entered, so she has already probably has already a knowledge on administration. Many instances the congregation would consider her to be assigned as a principal, and then once they are already holding offices, diyan na papasok ang problems. There are many problems because sometimes the junior sister sometimes would forget that they are still in the formation and would,
Yes.
sorry for the word, but sometimes they try to dominate, especially an older sister who is already a perpetually professor, something like that, Father. And yeah,
Yes.
Father, the problem is really, that's why now for the congregation, pag junior ang sister, they will never assign na in the administration, only in teaching, and then in campus ministry, in the what is this one, in the community extension, like that po.
That's an important point, no? Really, since the junior is still in the process of formation, not having perpetual vows yet, no? yeah, the temptation might be, especially for more experienced younger junior sisters, as given the example, he has been administrator before, then therefore to assign her to an important administrative position, yeah, there will be repercussions there. No? So it will be good. Okay, mute yourselves, please. Mute yourselves. So it's good that they are assigned in, in non-administrative positions, no? Teachers, campus ministers, like that. Other examples of junior rate assignments. Yeah? Yeah, principal might be a bit too much no? For a junior, no? It's not so much, it's not just her own concern, no? She might have difficulty in performing her own work, but also others might have problem with her, with a junior sister occupying high positions in the ministry. Okay. Yes, please. Yeah, Sister Ella. Okay, Sister Ben, so that everybody can hear, you can come so can closer. Yeah, so you can stand here. Yes.
Because currently in my third year junior.
Junior.
And in
How many years in temporary vows from the bishop now?
3 years.
3 years
Yes.
within temporary vows. Okay.
And then in my first year, I study my MA.
Okay, studies is okay.
I'm still studying my MA.
Okay.
And then in my second year, in that second year of my junior rate, my mission is assistant registrar of our school.
Assistant registrar. At least you're not the registrar.
Yes.
There's somebody else in charge. Okay.
That's what. And then after 6 months of being assistant registrar, I work for being a finance officer.
So you're now the
In
treasurer.
office po. Yes, in a
Treasurer ka na.
yeah. Office. Then after that 1 year now finished that school year, now I am currently working as campus ministry coordinator.
Okay.
And last year, in that 6 months while I'm doing my campus ministry coordinator, I'm also teaching as part-time teacher like that.
What do you teach?
In senior high school.
Senior high.
Subject on po.
Is it religion?
Religion po. Kalimutan ko.
Yeah. But okay.
Po, culture, society, and politics.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, the principle that should guide formators, okay, is that the juniors are undergoing formation, no? So that they should not be overburdened, no, with works that might hinder in their formation. So therefore, there's no clear formula there, no? Now, what should be very important is this on the part of superiors, to be always, the channel of communication should always be open, no? With the sister or with the seminarian, no? And there should be greater transparency, no? So on the part of the foreman, the junior sister or seminarian, he or she should be able to really express herself openly. Sister, this is becoming very difficult for me. My prayer life is already suffering. The tensions experience is getting a bit too much. And then the religious superior should be able to take that into consideration to make the proper decisions. No? Yeah, so the needs of the apostolate should not really prevail in relation to formation of the sisters or the seminarians. No? For most seminarians, no, of course us, the OMIs, the Jesuits, the Carmelites, the period of juniorate, this is period of studies basically. No, after. What studies do we do after novitiate? We study philosophy, no? And then eventually we study theology. So it's not really a time for us to work, no, in the apostolate. In a real sense, the apostolate of our seminarians after novitiate as juniors is to study. However, that does not exclude the fact that it's important. A part of formation is apostolate. So we also have to do apostolate while our seminarians are also studying. Now here it will be relevant that the apostolate of the seminarians should not at the same time be detrimental to their academic work, no? To their academic studies. It's good to integrate apostolate, mission, ministry with studies, as long as there will be a good balance, no? Good balance of studies and apostolate. So surely, there was a time for us, the Jesuits, for many, even now when we are fewer, but it's also the same when we were many, some seminarians have multiple apostolates. Apostolate here in the Ateneo College, taking care of a campus organization, apostolate there. There's a primary apostolate, there's secondary apostolate, for some they have a tertiary apostolate. Yeah, so again, what's important is openness, no? Conversation between the superior and the one undergoing formation. Okay, so we have to be careful, especially for you. Most of you are formators, no? Okay, now we talk about full incorporation, no? Canon 657. What does full incorporation mean? Okay, so a religious who freely asks and is judged to be suitable upon completion of the term of temporary profession is first admittance to the renewal of the profession, maximum 9 years. Or if the time has come, even as early as 3 years, no? The canon law says even from 3 years, a person can already profess perpetual vows. Canonically, 3 to 6 can be extended to 9. So the person may be admitted to perpetual profession already. If not, then, as I mentioned, the example of our seminarians in 4th year, then they leave the congregation. Personally, I have not been in a rector of a community of seminarians, so I have not really participated in the deliberations, no, regarding the granting of perpetual professions, no. So this is in at least in the society. So the rector of the scholasticate is involved. Okay, of course, I guess for the OMI also and other religions, the rector of the house, no, of the seminary. And then, of course, the provincial of the congregation and the consultors of the provincial. Just curious lang, no? You don't have to tell details. Who among you have participated in making a decision for a perpetual profession with regard to your sister or brother? Anyone who has participated in that decision making?
Yes, for me to this.
Yeah, Jesuraj, you have? You were rector?
We have a formation team.
Okay, the formation team, yes,
Board.
gives a recommendation. The formation team is led by the rector, and the recommendation is given to the provincial.
There will be 3 formats.
Okay,
And there should be a majority
okay.
for the first city.
But still, the provincial decides. Okay, it's the recommendation that you provide. Yeah. So there are different levels of recommendations, no? From the group of the formators, pass on the recommendation to the provincial. The provincial surely consults the consultors, no? Anyone? Sister Marie Chris, let me ask you, have you participated in a deliberation for the granting of
Yes.
a perpetual? You have?
Yes, Father.
Marami na ba na-approve?
May na-extend, Father. Because when may extension po, ini-extend po.
Decisions about extension.
Kasi po minsan when they send it to me, just like I have two, three. There were 3. The first one, there's a deliberation in the region, and then it's the recommendation from the region, then sent to the general superior. And then what I did is to trace, because they just sent it to me like 1 year preparation. So I don't know much about the sisters. So what I asked all the countries where the sister has been. So I asked opinions from all the sisters that live with her. So nagtatali naman po yung mga, the opinions, the
Feedback.
recommendations, the strengths and the weaknesses. It was really, the how to say, the thread, there's some kind of thread that really during the years that these sisters has been living in this country, in this community, and then afterwards, because when they sent to me, it's already just like the preparation. So I'm the one responsible for their preparation. So the last, I would say, the last say will be in my community, in my council. So I think it's not easy, Father, because if it is only 1 year, it's not really easy to see really the capacity, the character of the sister. So it is
So-
better to have consultation
Yeah.
in
And you
many
mentioned
communities.
there is some validation that happens. There's this
Yes,
similar information that comes to you.
Yes, Father. And
Correct.
then when we are like in doubt, then we could ask for extension for 1 year.
Okay. Anyone
And
else
it's not
was
easy.
Yeah, it's not easy, huh? Anyone else
It's not
was
easy for the sister
experienced?
to accept.
Yeah. Any other experiences regarding deliberation? Anyone?
Yeah. For our May Father Leoncia po.
Sister Leoncia with the Holy Spirit. Yes.
In our case, we always make they always write personal evaluation. And
Okay.
then the sisters in the community where the junior sister is also working or are staying, all the sisters have to write their evaluation and then the recommendation.
Okay. Yes.
So
And then-
all these documents we will send from the community to the provincial house, and then from the provincial house to the generalate.
Yes. And then the general decides, no?
Yes, po.
Yes. This is perpetual profession already. Okay. Now it's important. Again. Yeah. Surely. We need information given by brothers and sisters to help us making an assessment. But really, in the end, really, there is a lot of discernment that should happen. No? There should be a lot of prayer, in fact. No? That from the level of the formators up to the final decision making of our provincial, no, and the general, there has to be a lot of real prayer to really discern, is this where the Holy Spirit is leading us, or is it just me? Of course, it's difficult to distinguish that, no? I suppose, unless we have a direct connection to the Holy Spirit. But yeah, because we are human beings, so our judgments are influenced by certain external factors. What if at a certain time the present provincial was the rector of this student or a superior of this sister, and there was a time when they had a kind of a misunderstanding or a mini conflict between them. But the person is now provincial. Then that person has to distance himself or herself, no, from that experience that happened in the past, no? In Filipino, di ba, we have this expression, wag tayong magkikimkim, no? Magkikimkim ng galit. You know, to harbor ill feelings in our hearts, no? And that will influence our decision making, no? The decision making should not be influenced, remember, by our emotions, no? It should, yeah, surely we have emotions, but that should not dominate our capacity to decide. We have to have information, objective information, and our knowledge of the person in relation to our mission in the religious congregation. So it's not quite easy, no. Okay, so let's continue. However, again, we see that word however. The period of temporary profession can be extended. Okay, it can be extended by the competent superior, as mentioned. No, it cannot be more than 9 years. No? But as mentioned, now that extension should also be discerned. No, because sometimes I could imagine, but this person is such a good person. No, such a good person. We know he has or she has some faults, a good deal of weaknesses. So there might be a dilemma, no? Whether to let go or to keep the person, no? To hope that this person might actually have the vocation, no? I don't want to share our experience because people might know immediately what. But anyway, this happened within the past 100 years. So difficult to determine which year who was that person. In our formation, we have what we call regency. No, different from other religious congregations or diocesan seminary. For some kasi pag sinabing regency, if you say, oh, you'll be on regency, it's like you're on the way out na. You're being sent out na in some cases, no? Not in all. But in our cases, regency is part of our formation. Everybody goes through regency. So usually 2 years, for some 3 years, they are inserted into a apostolic community, basically in a university, and then we teach for 2 years, no? That's regency. And then we live in the community with the professed fathers, no? Usually it's just 2 years, no? But in some cases, a good number of our confreres, Jesuits, they do 3 years, 3 years of regency. Yeah, that's the more kind of, normally 2 years, but for some 3. But there was a situation wherein the person did 4th-year regency, 5th-year regency. But I understand, no, from the outside, some people say, why extend it too long? Why can't the person just leave? No? It's enough already that you have 2 years or even 3 years, but why allow 5 years? But I also understand superiors, the provincial. The person might actually have the vocation, but the person might not just be ready to commit himself to the study of theology and eventually to ordination. So one thing I realize is there are many things that our superiors and our provincials know that we do not know. So ganyan naman tayo, sometimes we make judgments, ba't ganyan, ba't ganyan, ba't ganyan. But our knowledge is limited. Superiors have more information. So we should be kind of not very slow. We have to be slow in making judgments. No? At the same time, our superiors cannot just open up and explain to everybody the situation. Because our superiors are bound also by secrecy and the privacy of our brothers and our sisters. Okay, perpetual profession can be anticipated. No, for example, if on the 7th year of temporary vows, okay, the schedule should be at the end of that 7th year. It says, canon law says it can be anticipated, meaning done earlier. No? The condition is there should be a just reason. A just reason basically is a simple reason, a schedule. The mother is sick, or the father is sick, or the person has to go abroad for studies, for example. No? But not more than 3 months, the anticipation. No? So if the vows is supposed to be in March, no, it has to be done by January, anticipated. Okay, questions you might have? Yes, Sister Alice, you're raising your hand.
Yes po, with regard po, Father, sa perpetual profession, there's a case in our congregation, Father, when the sister already entered the perpetual profession, I mean the tertiary formation. She's already there for around 3 months, and then in the middle of the 9 months, because our tertiary formation is 9 to 10 months po. So within the middle of that formation, her mother got sick. And
Sorry,
because of that,
who got sick?
the mother of the sister. So she wrote a letter asking for an extension, or what's this one, to be out of the tertiary formation. Unfortunately, she was not granted to be out of the tertiary formation, but she was given 3 months father to visit the mother, to take care of the mother. But after 3 months, no, not 3 months, I guess. I think 3 weeks only, father. And after the 3 weeks, she really wanted to serve because she'd seen the need of the mother to be what is this one, to be taken care of, and she's the only one who is available.
Yes.
So she again wrote a letter if she could go back to the what's this one, to the junior rate level. But then, according to the major superiors, there's none like that in the canon law. So she was given a chance to discern either to continue tertiary formation or to go out. So that's it, father. My question, father, is there's no, like, if you wanted to be in if you're in a formal tertiary formation and you wanted to, back out, or you wanted to go back to the temporary professed, can it not be, father? Because she was just for Filipinos, our junior formation will take us 5 years. For the Indonesians, it's 7 to 9 years. So 5 years lang po siya, father, but her mission was in Italy all throughout.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Each congregation has its own formation program before perpetual vows, no? In the case, like our case, in our case, we have this what we call final vows, no? But before professing final vows, we have what we call tertianship, as mentioned by sister, no? But in other congregations, before perpetual vows, they have this period of formation, might be called tertianship or another. Just a question for OMI, before perpetual vows, they are in theology, no? So that is the formation program. For other sisters, in the case of the RVM, they have a tertianship before perpetual vows. Sister, how many months is tertianship again?
9 to 10 months, father. Actually, 10 months, father.
10 months, okay.
Yes, po.
Yeah. For other congregations, you might have a similar rule, no? What canon law, as you notice, canon law does not mention anything about the formation program before perpetual, no? The basic thing is the sisters are on junior rate, no? It's very general. It just says that it should be not more than 9 months, 9 years, sorry, not more than 9 years of temporary profession. So the temporary profession can be done earlier. Now, in this case, sister, no, she never professed perpetual vows yet, no?
Not yet, father.
Sister,
Not yet,
ano? No,
Not yet po, father.
no perpetual vows.
Not
Can I
yet. She's
ask?
still in the tertianship po. Tertianship formation na siya, father. She was
Tertianship
already 4 months, I guess, in the tertianship formation.
Okay. So she was given the option to leave, no? But happily, the sister did not leave.
She opted to leave, father.
Eventually, she left na talaga.
Yeah, she left talaga, father, because she cannot also what is this one, leave her mother during the time, because the
Yeah.
mother was dying. So she was actually only asking for an extension of her junior rate formation, but it was not granted because she already started the tertiary formation. According to the formator, the tertiary formation is like the second novitiate formation, which is in preparation for the final profession. So that's why her only choice was to go out. And it
Really?
was really, father, and all of us, we were also thinking, how come something like that. It's a seldom case, father, that had happened. It was the first time that happened in the congregation. That's why we were really we were sad when she went out, because she was a good sister and very responsible, and it's really a kind of a loss for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Father.
I feel it's as you see, tertianship is not even mentioned in canon law. So there could have been a greater openness, no, so that the sister, because as we will see, there are possibilities for leave of absence, there is possibility for even exclustration. Normally, what we have in mind is that if a person is given exclustration, the person is slowly leaving the congregation. No, but in canon law, it does not say so. No, exclustration can be granted for 3 years for various reasons. No, but leave of absence 6 months, pwede naman. It can be granted for various reasons, like care for the sick, care for elderly parents or dying parents. So the option for departure need not be always the option. There are other options, especially in favor of one's vocation. Yeah, I could have been, and as you mentioned, some sisters were surprised about it, no? But yeah. So, well, I don't know more further comments on my part. Yeah. Other questions you might have or experiences? It's good to know as we see, good to know canon law so that we know that because sometimes we only know the rules of our congregation. We have our precepts there, but our precepts should be in line with canon law. No, that's the reason why our many of our complementary norms to our statutes were revised according to the revisions of the Code of Canon Law. Because it gives us a bigger perspective. Pwede naman pala sa canon law. So it is possible pala in canon law. So why should we be so strict in our rule? No? So those are the things that are helpful. So sometimes there are people who are more canonical than canon law itself. No? In the same way that sometimes there are some people who are more popish. They behave more than the Pope. The way they are more popish than the Pope. Yeah, so that's those kinds of things. Okay, let's continue. So we have here, pasensya na, Sister Alice, because these are always RBM pictures that I see. I don't know, kasi yung picture sa internet. No? I guess these are more senior sisters. They must be celebrating their silver jubilee or golden, maybe not golden jubilee. So then we have here a picture of a priest in America, in the US. I think they were demonstrating against war, and then the person is being arrested by authority. So our topic is on obligations and rights. So this is very important. Our sisters in formation, our seminaries have rights. I was really surprised when I was talking with a canon lawyer from one of the dioceses here in Metro Manila. I was surprised when he told me, Catholics, they cannot really speak about rights, that they have rights. No? Because it's the church that gives them these rights. I did not tell him that because I didn't want to embarrass him, but in my mind, it's impossible. Because in canon law, there is a section on obligations and rights of the Christian faithful. So if you browse through canon, it's very clear there a number of canons regarding the obligations and rights of the Christian faithful. There, in Book 2 of the Code of Canon Law, People of God, Title 1 and Title 2. Title 1, Obligations and Rights of all the Christian faithful. And then Title 2, Obligations and Rights of the lay Christian faithful. So definitely in our own religious congregations, our formans, our sisters, and our seminarians have rights and duties, but at the same time, our institutes also have certain obligations and rights. Community life. This is especially true for us religious congregations. No? For diocesan priests, the obligation of community life is not present. No? Because they're not bound by the rules of religious life. So let's see. This is so important that Pope Francis had to step in and revise canon law, because there have been so many problems about religious not observing community life. And by not observing community life, I do not mean they are absent in morning prayer. It's not so much that, or they are rarely seen eating lunch in the community. They're always in the apostle. It's not so much that. There are sisters and priests who do not live with the community. They live elsewhere. I was surprised actually. I will again mention the congregation. I was surprised to know that there is one, these are congregation for men, no? Dito lang, taga Loyola Heights lang. There are many congregations there. So you don't have to tell me, there are different options. So not OMI, not OMI. I was surprised to know one of their men was living there in a house alone down there. So I was, why is that his assignment? No, father. I was talking to the seminarian, a member of the same congregation. Why is he staying there? We don't know, father. He just wants to live there. But the community house is here in Loyola Heights. Take note. Okay, let's see. Remember, by definition, a religious institute is a society in which the members, okay, we pronounce public vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, but also we live a fraternal or sisterly life. I'm sorry, this is not inclusive. I should write it. Fraternal and sisterly life in common. That's part of our character. That's our nature as members of religious institutes. By our consecration, we do not just profess vows. We also live in a community. Okay, so therefore, in canon law, canon 665, it provides some regulations regarding residence and common life. Okay, it states that religious are to not only reside in their own religious house, obviously, we have to reside in our religious house, but also observe, common life. Some of us might be late for prayer, or sometimes we might wake up a bit late for morning prayer, especially if you have morning prayer at 5:30 in the morning. Okay, so we have to observe common life. And it states here clearly they are not to stay elsewhere except with the permission of the superior. Okay? And then in our example here in Loyola House, we have a regulation. If you have to stay overnight elsewhere, you have to fill up a form. Where will you be? Even if it will be with an aging parent, who lives in Manila, you have to write where you will be, your contact number, and when you will be back. And it has to be given to the superior, to the rector of the house. That is because that is our obligation to stay in a religious house. However, as mentioned, even if we have that obligation, we can have, for certain reasons, a leave of absence, or it is an authorization to live outside our own religious house. Okay? So what does it say, this leave of absence thing? The provincial is involved here, obviously. The provincial can authorize a member to live outside the house of the congregation. It says here, a just reason. It did not say grave reason. A grave reason is a very, very serious reason. If the provincial sees a just reason or a reasonable cause, then he can give that permission. But the council has to give its consent. There has to be voting. The council, the consultors of the provincial has to vote and give that permission. But it should not exceed 1 year. Sorry, I mentioned earlier 6 months. Leave of absence can be for a year. Yeah. And if one is in a leave of absence, you are still a religious. You still wear your habit. So that's why I said earlier in the case of what Sister Alice mentioned, instead of dismissing or asking the person to leave, this could have been utilized also. Not for a leave of absence. If the person has to live with a family to take care of an aging or a sick parent. In fact, again, there is a however here. However, it may exceed 1 year, even it's allowed, no? Even 1 year in case of health. Sorry for this movement. In case of health reasons, it may be for one's personal health or even also the health of a certain a member of the family. Studies, for example, no? A place where the institute has no house. So in our example, so we've had some Jesuit studying in the US in a university in a city where there is no Jesuit house. No, but the closest Jesuit house is a long drive, for example. No, so the Jesuit is allowed to live in an apartment while studying in the university, but he is connected to the nearest Jesuit community. And he is under the superior of that community. And periodically, the Jesuit has to go and make a long drive in order to meet the superior of the community. Or if an apostolate is to be exercised in the name of the institute, so it may exceed 1 year for a leave of absence. So yes, a question, sister. There, we will see in a while because next to this is exclustration. So there we will see the difference between exclustration and leave of absence in a while. Okay, Father Chris, you have a question about leave of absence.
Yes, Father. My question is, what is or are difference between the leave of absence and the sabbatical?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, they look very okay. For sabbatical, Father, it is not a leave of absence because for sabbatical, a person has to still reside in a house of the institute. No? However, as I mentioned, if in case that the person because community life has to be maintained even during the period of sabbatical. Now, there might be some situation, I don't know how, no, but a sabbatical will have to be done in a place where the congregation is not present. Okay, so therefore, in that case, the provincial may give that permission that the person may not live in the house of the institute. So practically, it's a leave of absence. No. Yeah, yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Yes, Father.
That's okay. Yeah.
In our case, yeah, it's okay. In our case, Father, usually as I observe, the sabbatical, usually the brother or the priest will leave the local community, and like for example, they want to go home, but the provincial is asking for a program for her, like for example, for whole year, what are you going to do?
Yes.
Are you going to have a study leave or whatsoever? But the leave of absence, usually the provincial will said, now, okay, you can do whatever you want to do outside of the community. Just report once a month. So I think that is that okay, Father, or that's the right thing to do?
Yeah. So it seems that for a sabbatical, there's greater supervision, diba? There's greater supervision. In fact, yeah, that's true. For us, if we have to go on sabbatical, it's not just a vacation grande, no? You have to have a program. And there has to be normally a certain, of course, the purpose of sabbatical really is rest, no? After a period of very intense work, no? So that the person does not get burned out. But in some cases, it can be a study sabbatical. One takes courses in a university or write some papers and articles. But there has to be some kind of a supervision there, no? For one to do a leave of absence, no? Then there's less, there's less requirement for contact, no, with the religious congregation. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Father.
Again, that can be exceeded, but more than 1 year of sabbatical might be too long already, no? Yes. Sister Alice, yes.
I just want to ask, Father, with the leave of absence. Say, for example, Father, no, the sister will be out for a year because she has to live in other country because the family is in another country, and then there's a need in the financial help in the family. Father, can the sister work while she is on leave? I mean, can she work, Father, and receive financial what's this one, monetary what's this one, exchange of her work, Father, and give it to the family? Can she do that one, Father?
Okay, one who is on leave of absence, okay? Remember, one is on leave of absence is still a full member of the congregation, no? And in this case, the person is allowed to live with the family for valid reason, no? For a just reason. The question is, can the sister work? Okay? Can the sister work? You know, so please mute yourselves. Please mute yourselves. Sorry, please mute yourselves. Mute yourselves. Yeah, that's a good question, sister.
Because I heard they can help family.
Yeah, but the kind of work, no, the kind of work that the sister will have to do. What work? What kind of work? Because normally we work within our institutes, no, within our congregation. Yeah. And yeah, the reason for a leave of absence should not be it should not there should normally be, it's not about work, no? Taking care of a sick family member, no? One has to go on studies, no? For example, for one going on studies and living outside the house of the community, of the congregation, in some cases, like these priests on studies, they can do part-time work, like they celebrate mass in the parishes for some income. But the main thing that they do is really study. No? So one should not really be going out or on a leave of absence for the purpose of work. It should not be that. Because the congregation should take care of the sister, of the religious. In fact, I think, sister, if a person is on leave of absence, taking care, for example, of a sick member of the community, of the family, the sister is still entitled to some financial support by the congregation. Yeah, because remember, she is a full member of the congregation. The superior cannot say, oh, anyway, you're not living with us, take care of yourself. And I would be very slow in allowing the sister to do some other work while with the family. I think we should take care of that sister. Is that okay, Sister Alice?
Yes, Father.
You know, because anyway, that's just my personal take. It's part of our obligation to the member to our sister, to support her in the same way that we receive assistance from our congregation while we are living in the community. So why should that stop just because a person has been given legitimate permission to be on leave of absence?
About the family's financial crisis.
Okay, so we have this situation, family in financial crisis, and the religious.
Only person can help. So that case.
Yeah. So in this situation, we're in the religious. Of course, for us Asians, we cannot totally detach ourselves, no, from family, Filipino or whatever, no. In this case, the question is, can the religious file a leave of absence in order to work for the family? That's one scenario.
Sometimes the congregation assists.
Yeah, I think that's a better approach. No, and we have had some experiences with that in the congregation. No, instead of considering the option of the religious going on leave of absence or even exclustration to work for the family's needs, it might be best just to support the family in one way or another through financial assistance by the congregation. Or the congregation can look for benefactors, generous collaborators who might want to, help in one or another way to assist the family of the religious. Because we have our own mission also, we have mission assignments, no? That would practically mean that the religious will have to be taken out of the religious congregation. And this is take note also that while maintaining both goods, no, caring for the family, but at the same time maintaining our mission. Yeah, we have done that in the Society of Jesus for in some cases. Yeah. But I hope that the religious will not consider leaving the institute, leaving the congregation for that purpose, no. Especially if the person has a vocation, really, no. Yes, other questions? Okay, in a while, I guess the next slide might be about exclustration. Okay, here, we have the matter of requested exclustration. The religious request for exclustration. Now, exclustration only affects those in perpetual vows. Huh? Only those in perpetual vows can avail of exclustration. So here, it's more serious. No? For leave of absence, who's in charge? The major superior. 1 year can be extended, major superior. For exclustration is the general who is in charge. So the supreme moderator or the general can grant an indult of exclustration to a perpetually professed member. Okay? Perpetually professed members. Not exceeding 3 years. So up to 3 years. You might know some members of your community under exclustration, no? Within this period of 3 years, or you might know members of your community who initially were in exclustration and eventually left the congregation. Let's see the regulations of canon law. So first of all, just to explain, exclustration comes from the word ex, cloister, meaning outside our cloister, meaning outside of our community, outside of our congregation, of the house of our congregation. Then they live outside of the house of the institute. Now, again, there is a however. This indult of 3 years of exclustration can be extended. Okay? But in that case, the Vatican should be requested for permission by the general. Okay? This is the Dicastery for Institute of Consecrated Life and Societies of Apostolic Life. It used to be SWE because it used to be congregation, but now it's Dicastery. Okay, now in the case of institutes of diocesan right, then the competent person to make that decision is the diocesan bishop. Okay, so now let's see between exclustration and leave of absence. Okay, for leave of absence, it can be granted to those in temporary or perpetual vows for 1 year, but can be extended, no? For reasons of health, studies, and for the reason of the apostolate. In comparison with that, exclustration is given only to those in perpetual vows for 3 years. Now, what are the scenarios for one to be on exclustration? Reflection on one's vocation. In many cases, this is what happens. Reflection on one's vocation. They really want to really check it out whether they are really for a religious congregation or with a diocesan, in a diocesan seminary. But zero, care for an ailing parent, it can be up to 3 years. Yeah. When it says 3 years, it's more or less like the maximum, but it can be 2 years. No, you really don't have to stay out for 3 years. It can be even just 1 year or just 2 years. Yeah. Yes, Father Yogo.
These term of exclaustrations only for religious members or so can connect to the cases and priests.
Yeah.
Some case I heard about my senior exclaustration.
But actually, for the question is this, no? Is the concept of exclustration, can it be also applied to diocesan clergy? No? Okay, so actually, in the situation of a diocesan priest, no, who might feel the need, no, not to be assigned a specific assignment, no, clearly that is very much possible, no, as long as it's the bishop will have to grant that permission, no. Yeah, it can be called, although it cannot be applied to the term exhaustion or not to really to diocese, but kind of an extended leave of absence, that's possible, no. So in such a way that the diocesan priest is like on a sabbatical, that might be a better word for diocesan priest. He's like on a sabbatical without having a specific assignment, no? And that period, no, can be also utilized by some diocesan priests as a period of reflection, whether there is a concern about their own vocation. So that's possible, and it's very simple as compared to the procedure that the religious need to undergo. Yeah. Okay, just a question. In your congregations, have you had example cases of exclustration first and then eventually left the congregation or came back? A good number of cases left the congregation, but it's possible, no, that they can actually decide to remain in the congregation. Sister Fo.
Yes, we have many cases, not only one.
Okay. Cases of what? Departure or returning?
Exclustration. I mean, they
but-
still return, but there are some that after 3 years they still need more, and that's why they write a letter to Mother General, and now they need to consider to let her. She's asking more, not only 3 years, but more than 3 years. So renew again.
But eventually, did they leave the congregation or remain?
No, they just outside. They just at home.
No, but they left the congregation, sister?
No, they come back.
Oh,
Only
good.
that-
That's good news.
Only
You
that
should be
they-
happy for that, no?
Yeah, the other case is other sister is live for because the father is sick and she need to take care. So until now didn't come back yet. So it's better not yet expired. Still within the 3 year. The other one is because of I do not know because they didn't tell us the reason. We just surprised. But what I heard from Miss Chit Marites is because her house, the typhoon came, so her house was swept away. I mean, no more house.
Oh.
So there's no choice. She want to have the family, so she have to ask for the exhaustion. She went out and work just to have the family to rebuild the house. Yeah.
So there, in the case as mentioned by sister, shared by sister, within period of exclustration, in fact, the religious can work. No?
Yeah, and then she is now working here. She is now working. Pero she didn't come to visit the community, but from time to time, it seems she's still talking with our mother provincial from time to time. So the
Okay, I have a question. I have a question in your case, sister, and in the other cases of other congregations. If somebody is on exclustration, do they still wear the habit?
It depends, Father, because it depends on context. Example, some of our sisters who are here, since they are Filipino, so so they wear the habit even at home and even in the parish when they attend the mass. But seeing one of Filipino sister of ours, she because she want to have the family, she went to Vietnam to work. So there, she don't use the habit, follow the culture. So it depends on context. There, she just use normal clothes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. In other congregations, how is it like for those who went into exclustration? Did they go back to the congregation or left? And do they still wear the habit for the other congregations? Yes, the
Ours,
Shervas.
Father.
Okay, Shervas de Jesus first, and then we'll follow. Station. Okay. Just to take note, even if they're exprostrated, they are still within the vows. Remember that, no? They are still bound, no? They are within the validity of their vows, no? So they remain religious. Yeah, it's just that they are living outside the community. So therefore, they can wear the habit or not. It depends on the tradition of the congregation, no? But they have to remain poor. Well, poor meaning it's just like in a case-to-case basis. If they have to work, no, then they have to remain chaste and they are still to be obedient, no, because they still have the major superior. It's just that they are kind of they are kind of on a distance mode, no, from their religious superior. Yes, sister, you were saying something.
Yeah, for us, Father, in the RBM, we don't wear the habit. For those who are under prostration, Father, there is a ritual that they have to remove their habit. But only the ring, Father, they have to wear the ring as a sign that they are still vowed. But for
Yes.
the habit, they remove their habit.
Okay. Yeah, because it might, in some cases, it might not be kind of compatible, no, to the reason, to their present involvement outside of the community, especially if they're working, no? If they're working, the sister cannot wear the habit while working, no? Other examples or other experiences you might have? Okay, no more, but at least let us continue to be aware in these cases. For us religious men, most probably we might have a similar experience. So though there are certain members of congregations of men, no, usually these might be priests, no, who decide to leave the congregation. Okay. However, remember they are incardinated in our congregations. No, now they leave the congregation, or actually in many cases, the provincial encourages them to leave because that is a better arrangement rather than dismissal. No, because when you dismiss a person with perpetual vows and is a priest, it's a kind of a complicated process. So in some cases, what is done by the provincial is to have a real conversation, discernment with the priest. And until such a time when the priest realizes, yes, I think I should leave the congregation. So they live outside now the community, but they're not yet incardinated in a diocese, no? Because the priest should be incardinated somewhere, and they cannot be excrostrated or excardinated from the congregation and not yet incardinated in the diocese, no, or in another congregation. So what happens is this: so while they have not yet found a diocese of incardination, they are still members of the congregation, but they are excrostrated. They are not living in the congregation, but working already in a diocese. No? Now what happens is, the exclustration is terminated when there's a bishop who allows the person for incardination. In which case, then the person becomes excardinated, does not become a member anymore of a religious congregation. So those are examples of exclustration in the case of the religious congregation for priests or men. Now, exclustration can also be imposed. No, the earlier exclustration is a requested exclustration. So in this case, the general, the supreme moderator, can request for or impose an exclustration on a member of the congregation. Okay. Now it has to be approved by the Vatican for a member of an institute of pontifical right. Now, why is the Holy See involved? Because the person has perpetual vows. Talaga, if one is in perpetual vows, there is a more serious process that has to be done because the person has perpetual vows. No? So, but in this case, exclustration can be imposed on a member of a religious congregation. And of course, if a person is a member of an institute of diocesan right, the competent person to impose the exclustration is the bishop. There. So now what might be the reason for an imposed exclustration? Well, I know a case. This is a priest, a member of a religious congregation. Exclustration was imposed because of an abuse case of minors. So case of minors, so exclustration was imposed. Now, normally, in the case of culpable abuse of minors, usually, especially in cases where it's really severe, no, there are different abuse of minors. There are different situations, no. Some abuse of minors happen systematically and almost like a kind of crazy already. It's absurd, no, and it's like a real work of somebody who really has a big issue. Now, some abuse of minors might happen, because of certain lapses. There might have been a period of weakness on the part of the priest, but none of that is condoned. No, it has to be addressed. Now, in this particular case that I know, the person was not defrocked. No, the person was not removed from ministry and laicized, because in some cases, priests and even bishops are laicized, really removed from ministry for very severe cases. Some cases, this is what some congregations do, impose exclustration. And in this particular case that I know, it was an imposed exclustration with the view of eventually the person leaving the congregation. I don't know now if he is incardinated in a diocese. But if that's the case, no, of abuse of minors, surely the bishop will really have to think twice and really evaluate and assess the situation. Otherwise, the bishop might be accused of harboring somebody who has committed the crime of abuse of minors. So I'm not sure. I'm not updated anymore with the case of that priest. No, but really it's a dilemma. No, what do you do in that case? But surely, those who are engaged in the ministry of protection of minors should worry about the priest secondarily. The focus should be the victim. Because in the past, what has been done, the bishops would think about the good of the priest. How do we protect the priest? How do we save the priest? What about the victim? So that is what was neglected for many years. Now, under Pope Francis, he has always been saying, in the case of abuse of minors, we have to immediately think about the victim. No, first to acknowledge the wrong and the evil done to the victim, and number two, how do we help the victim more than focusing our attention on the victimizer. Okay, well, we will still have this topic on separation from the institute. Surely we have a lot of experiences regarding this matter. Okay, let's take a break. It's 3:40. Okay, let's be back here between 3:55 and 4, around that time, 15 to 20 minutes of break. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Father. Thank you po.
Salamat ah. Kasi sira o niya. Ha? Ano, kaon niya diri kung siya? Dito ako nananon dito.
Ganyan ko yan, maririnig.
Okay, let us resume our class. Okay, but just to check if they are here already, Martel, are you here, Martel? Martel? Sister Jennifer? Sister Jennifer, are you here? Okay. So let's continue. So here our topic is on separation from the religious institute. So we have here a picture or a cartoon of a ship sinking, and then there are rats going out, leaving the ship. I'm sure I'm just this is just a joke. I'm not saying that our congregations are sinking. No. So here there are some. I'm leaving to spend more time with my family. That's just to make you laugh. Okay. So we have you had experiences of transfer in your congregation? Members of another congregation transferring to your own congregation. In our case, we also had a situation. We had this is a Japanese priest who was a Salesian, a Salesian of Don Bosco in Japan. Then he transferred to the Society of Jesus. No, but there are different kinds of transfers. Like in some cases, a sister might belong to a religious congregation, leaves the congregation, and then enters your congregation. That's what happened with Mother Teresa, no? Mother Teresa was a member of a congregation. What congregation was Mother Teresa from? Visitation, ba? And then she left. Then
Sister of Loreto, Father.
and then she established her own. Oh, okay. But that's quite common. Yeah, it's possible because our congregations have different charisms, no? Yeah. What was her congregation before? The founders of Siervas de Jesus. Siervas de Maria. Siervas de Jesus. So it's mother and daughter, no? Maria and Jesus. Okay, so these are things that but we normally know first the sister departs from a congregation and then enters. But there is such a thing as actual transfer in Canon 684, paragraph 1. How does this happen? So we have now in this canon law, we are only talking about perpetually professed. Perpetually professed members can transfer from their own religious institute to another while not leaving the congregation. I'll explain. So this is the situation. So the perpetually professed member would like to transfer to another congregation. The permission of the supreme moderators of both institutes is required. I'm talking about our own experience here. The Japanese Salesian would transfer to the Society of Jesus. So the permission of both generals are requested. The general of the Salesians, and the general of the Jesuits. Okay? And each general should get the consent of all the consultors. Wow, major operation. Major operation. Both generals asking, acting and meeting their consultors. We're talking about people with perpetual vows. Anyway, no? Okay, that's one scenario. No? That's one situation. No? One religious congregation to another. Now, there is also the possibility of, monasteries, no, like the Carmelite missionaries. Each monastery is independent, no, or autonomous, sui juris, no, according to its own law, or meaning autonomous. Transfer from one autonomous monastery to another of the same institute. So a Carmelite in Gilmore, there's a Carmelite in Gilmore, no, in New Manila, will transfer to the Carmel in Vigan. Is there a Carmel in Vigan? And many Carmel. So that is possible, no? Or a transfer to another member of the federation or confederation. Like, for example, the Benedictines, no? The Benedictine sisters have different foundations, no, of Benedictine monasteries, but they form a confederation. So the transfer requires the consent of the major superior of the both monasteries, no? The major superior serves as kind of a provincial of a monastery. Both monasteries should agree, no, for that transfer. Again, similar to religious congregations with the generals needing the consent of the chapter, in this case, the chapter of the monastery. The consent should be required. Now, in this case, no, it's from our eyes, it looks like a transfer of residence. Diba? They're both Carmels anyway. They have a similar lifestyle, so it's just like a transfer of community. But in itself, because they are independent, it's like there's no new profession that is required. Okay, no new profession. Okay, of course, in our congregations, no. If you're being transferred from Manila to Mindanao, you don't profess anew your vows, no? It's the same congregation anyway. Okay. Now, what happens? Also, there's a possibility to transfer from a religious congregation to a secular institute, no? Secular institute is it's consecrated life also. But it is different from the way we live out our consecration. No, these are men and women who, while consecrated by perpetual vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, they live in the world. They work in the bank, or they are teachers in the university. No, many of them still live a common life. Okay, but their life is different from ours. No. So therefore, for a transfer from a religious institute to a secular institute, or to a society of apostolic life, no, a society of apostolic life, it's similar to us religious, but a bit different also. For example, the Marinol Fathers. Have you seen the Marinol Fathers, or the PIME, the Pontifical Institute for Foreign Missions? They are like the diocesan priests that are banded together. They do not have a vow of poverty, but they have a vow of chastity, and they profess obedience to their superior, but they don't have a vow of poverty. So they're like really the diocesans banded together for common life and for the mission. So you see also the difference between them and us, no? Because we have the vow of poverty as members of religious institutes. So in this situation, both the general's permission, similar to the permission to be given when one transfers from one congregation to another, okay, again, with the consent of both councils. Oh, here is different. The Vatican gets involved. Whereas the transfer from one religious congregation to another religious congregation, only the generals. But in this case, the permission of the Vatican is required. Why? Because such a transfer might really, it does involve a change of life, a change of the nature of life itself, and it might involve greater risk. So for example, from our religious, from one, like a society of apostolic life, a Marinol Father without the vow of poverty, or a PIME Father congregation without vow of poverty, now enters the Jesuit religious life with vow of poverty. There might be struggles there. The person got used to having personal money, but now you don't have money. Even to buy your own toothbrush, you don't have. No, but we have allowance. No? Not too much. And how much is your allowance? Can I ask you? Thousands of pesos. So I wonder how much is the allowance of the Carmelites, Father Chris. our allowance here in Leon House is we can request monthly. How much can we request? We can request 3,000 pesos every month. Is that too much? Or very little? Very little, no? But that's the amount that we get. But we can still request. Still request if we need. OMI, how much?
6,000.
Wow, 6,000. At this time, especially because of the pandemic, no, it's very difficult to travel in the jeepneys, no? So we could request for transport allowance. So sometimes we have to take the taxi, ganyan. Of course, sometimes we take the MRT. So we can request for I used to request for 2,000 pesos travel allowance for every month, no? Sometimes I have to take the Grab. But anyway, so a change of lifestyle would involve possibly greater risk, no? So therefore, the Vatican wants to make sure that this will not be disadvantageous, or it might run the risk of maintaining the vocation of the person. So that's why the reason for this is really greater supervision. It's really care. It's really care for the consecrated person.
What place of
A hermit, yeah. Yeah, so that's possible. In fact, it also happened to us. So there was one Jesuit from Japan. He did not transfer to he did not become a hermit, but he transferred to a contemplative life. So that's another situation. So let's see. Soon, Father Chris, I'll ask you to ask your question. I just want to finish this section first. No? So regarding profession in the new institute, remember we're talking about perpetually professed members. Okay. Now the person, will have to complete a probationary period of at least 3 years in the new congregation. Okay? Probationary period of 3 years, no? Before the person professes perpetual vows. There has to be a profession that has to happen in the new congregation, of course, obviously. No? So it seems, how many years is your novitiate? 1 year, no? For us, 2 years. So it requires 4 years, no? At least 3 years of probation before making the profession in the new institute. So the member who refuses to make this profession, or he might not be admitted in the new congregation, what happens? The person returns to the original institute. Parang back to sender, back to sender. It's like a letter, that you send. But anyway, he can return to the institute because he or she is still a member of the original institute. Okay? Okay, unless the person eventually leaves the congregation, leaves the congregation and is therefore given an indult of secularization or laicization, we might want to say, laicization, meaning the person is dispensed from the vows in his or her original congregation. So the main thing here is upon transfer, there should be at least 3 years of probationary period. Okay, first of all, before we continue, why should that return be possible in the original congregation? Okay, because of this, he still has or she still has rights and obligations in the original congregation, but they were just suspended. So therefore, the person can still go back to the congregation. The vows remain. In that case of that Japanese Salesian, he remained in the vows under the Salesians. The vows remained until the profession was made as a Jesuit. Okay? So therefore, when the profession is made, then the one is released from his vows from the original congregation. Okay? Of course, obviously, since the person, the religious already professes vows in the new congregation, so therefore he or she is now bound to observe the laws of the new congregation, which is he or she is now a member. Okay. So now that's the situation. No? So therefore, the major superior or the provincial will have to determine what form of probation will be given to this person. Should it be a novitiate formation? Yeah, definitely, because the person needs to get to know more about the vocation and the charism of the new congregation. So definitely, there should be a period of novitiate formation. And not just 1 year as we have our own, not just 2 years, but according to canon law, at least 3 years before one professes perpetually. Now, does law say that the person should still profess temporary vows in the new congregation? It does not say. Remember, the person is perpetually professed in the original congregation. So in the transfer, in the process of probation, there is no profession of um, temporary vows. It's perpetual profession after at least 3 years of probation. Now, the canon law is silent about it. No? It's silent. But the word canon law says is just the word that canon law uses is, let's see, again, let's look at it. Probation. Probationary period. Now, what does probationary period mean? In the case of this Japanese Salesian who became a Jesuit, he was not asked to profess temporary vows. He just underwent formation, and after such period, he professed perpetual vows. Now, in your own congregations, but I don't see it possible because the person is bound by a perpetual vow. How can he profess temporary vows in the new congregation? It's not possible. No? It's not possible. So that's it. Father Chris, you were raising your hand.
Yes, Father, thank you.
Yes.
Actually, Father, you explain a lot in our case because just this month we have a professed brother from other congregation, from other congregation, then transferring to us. We are in the process, and based on our meeting for the last council last week, we have difficulties on understanding how we process this thing because first this is our first time that someone is transferring from other congregation to us who is already final profess. Usually we have temporary profess or from novitiate or seminarians from others, so
Yeah.
we are used to it, but this time we have that difficulties. But you explain especially the last part because we have arguments in the council, like the provincial is really saying no, after the provisionary we have to solemnly profess this person, but some member of the council will say no because he's transferring from other spirituality to Carmelite spirituality. No, so there's an argument between that, and someone will say also no because if the issue is spirituality, then let us assign him to the novitiate so that he will integrate the spirituality of the Carmelite. So I think that is very important to understand also, Father. But we
Yes.
have a problem, canonical problem, I think, because we received the application. Then usually the I think the normal things to do is to write this legitimate superior of this person. But the legitimate superior in the Philippines is not cooperating not
Oh.
even trying to communicate or disregarding the communication. But this legitimate superior is a delegation, meaning they're not province in the Philippines. So what we are doing last weekend, we directly wrote a letter to the general where they belong. Is that a proper way to do as well, Father?
Yes. Okay, Father, thank you. No. Okay, there are different ways. No, wherein a member of an institute can eventually be a member of our own congregation. No? That is one way. No, it's quite. As I mentioned, it's quite top heavy. No, imagine two generals with their councils are involved. Now, another way, Father, is this. No, first of all, we want to enter into the mind of that brother. No, the fact that he wants to leave his institute and transfer, there must be definitely there's a vocation question there. No? So therefore, one possible step is if he is really serious about transferring, uh, is it not possible that he requests for a dispensation from his spouse in his present congregation? So it seems really he wants to leave his congregation. So then, therefore, if it is, if one way is to ask him to process his dispensation from his spouse. And then when that's done, then if that's done, so this seems to be a kind of a cleaner process, no? And then when that's done, then if he's interested to join the Carmelites, then let him apply to your congregation, just like any other applicant. But taking note that he has been dispensed already from his spouse in the original congregation. That's another possible step.
Yeah, yes, Father. What we did now is we communicated last weekend with the general, and then we are trying to ask the candidate to ask for dispensation or from I mean
That's
sorry
it.
the dispensation from the vows,
From his
but the
spouse.
general is saying to our superior or to our provincial prior provincial, no, we are not giving the dispensation. Instead, we are giving a 1 year leave of absence. So then I think we understand that 1 year is somehow a time for this person to integrate in our community, but we decided because of that na we accept you, but this 1 year is a provisionary period for you to integrate yourself to the order, but not you are not yet member of the you are not in the formation of the
Yeah.
yet. Maybe it's a getting to know each other for 1 year. Then after 1 year, you better ask a dispensation from your superior if you really want to be here. I think we see or I see the wisdom behind it, since maybe the general of them is really thinking that maybe after a year he wanted to continue his life in their congregation and not to continue to the Carmelites. I think that
Yes.
is fair enough to
Yes.
understand this situation.
Yeah. Remember, 1 year, but in canon law, it's 3 years is required, no, before you admit him to perpetual vows.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
Father.
it seems 3 years is a good enough time, no, to get to know a person well, especially if he lives in the congregation.
Yeah, Father. Just one last thing,
Yes.
because the provincial is the decision of the provincial is we have to accept him for 1 year as getting to know, and then after that we will put him to a provisionary period of assigning him in different community. So meaning we will comply the 3 years provisionary actually.
Okay. Yes, that's good. But also, Father, it will be good to assess, to assess the person, because in many
Yeah.
cases
Yes.
it
Yes.
is not sufficient. It's not sufficient to rely on the recommendation of that original congregation. No, I think it would be totally reasonable to require of that brother a kind of an application process that you require of your other candidates who apply directly to you. I think it's totally reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
if you need to give him a psychological exam, assessment, interviews also, in one way or another to have a kind of a basis for making a decision on him. Apart from the information that you get from living with him or working with him.
Yes, thank you, Father.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that's the case of a brother, no? Again, by the way, is their spirituality compatible with yours? Well, is it all totally different?
Yeah, we have a problem with that because we have really different spirituality. Like for example, they're not, yeah, they're religious, but you're not keen of their community life. No, I mean, I said to him, you have to really practice the community life because your congregation is the spirituality is really different.
Different, yeah. That's something to consider also. Also, baka mamaya, ang spirituality nila, hindi makabasag pinggan. Sorry, that piece I said, be careful also because it's their way of life in the original congregation. They might, how do you put that? They might not be fit in your charism. You are always out on the mission, no, involved in many issues around in the community. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So ingat then. I have to be careful also. Okay, now
Yeah.
in 689, we have some members who might have physical or psychological infirmity. What does canon law say here? Being unsuited to lead a life in the institute, in the judgment of experts, for example, psychologists, it is a reason, no? It can be a reason for non-admission or the renewal of profession or to the granting of perpetual profession. Huh? So definitely, because remember, we are on a mission. If a person is not fit because of the judgment of experts for our mission, so you can decide not to admit him or her to renewal or even to perpetual vows. It's the call, no, of the major superior. But there is an exemption. If the infirmity, whether physical or psychological, was contracted because of the negligence of the congregation or because of work, ministry performed in the institute, no? Then you cannot dismiss or you cannot, ask the person to leave. Yeah, that's quite a serious matter, no? Here, the reason is we have admitted the person to the congregation, even if still in their temporary vows. But if the infirmity was contracted within the congregation, you cannot send him or her out. That's what the law says. No? But in practice, actually, I think a number of congregations decide not to let go of the candidate or of the person or of the religious. So here we see the inclination of canon law, no, to take care of the people who have entered our congregations, no, and not to treat them as objects, no, something that can be used for our purposes. These are human beings who enter our congregations. Now, a religious who becomes insane during the period of temporary vows. Have you had this situation, this case? A person who has a mental breakdown, for example, and suffers from, practically insanity, no? During this period of temporary vows, what does canon law say? They cannot be dismissed from the congregation. Even if that person cannot make a new profession. Agree or disagree? Yeah. We have had a case like this in the Society of Jesus, but this happened long ago. During World War, no, in 1942, remember the Japanese invaded the Philippines in 1942. Okay, and then eventually we're under Japanese occupation. In 1945 was the liberation of Manila, no, when the Americans came. There was this novice in Sacred Heart Novitiate in the Baliches. He was there, and then during the bombardment, uh, there was all commotion, and then he was sick. He got sick of high fever. So because of that, his brain was damaged because of that high fever during that commotion that happened. So after the bombardment, so he ended up insane. He was a novice then, so he never professed vows. And then he stayed with the Society of Jesus. He remained practically all his life with the novitiate until the time of his death. He died, I think he was around in 90 years old or 89, 88 years old. So he remained in the congregation. He was not dismissed. But he was a kind of an inspiration for many of us, generations of Jesuits who did the novitiate in Sacred Heart and novitiate. He's buried there in the cemetery at Sacred Heart Novitiate. His name is Brother Emmanuel Ramos. You might have seen his tombstone there in Sacred Heart Novitiate. Now, free departure of a perpetually professed, one who is perpetually professed can voluntarily request the dispensation from the vows or to leave the congregation, even if the person is perpetually professed. So he or she can ask for an indult to leave the institute. No? This is voluntary departure for very grave reasons. Again, very grave, not just grave reasons. For very grave reasons. Okay, now that person, that religious, is to write a petition, and he or she is to present the petition to the general. Okay? And the general will forward that petition to the Vatican, to the dicastery for Institutes of Consecrated Life and Societies of Apostolic Life. And in so doing, the general should meet the council, and the general should write his opinion, but also the members of the council, according to canon law, each one has to provide separate views. Okay? Each one writes his own recommendation. That's what canon law requires. So all of those information should be sent by the general to the prefect of the dicastery. Now, the competent authority to issue the indult is the prefect, because he is a perpetually professed religious, and we are talking about dispensation from the vows, from perpetual vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Now, of course, for members of institutes of diocesan right, then the diocesan bishop is competent to grant that indult of departure from the religious institute. Have you had members who left and then wanted to come back? Meron? Well, we've had, there was this guy, he never professed, he never professed vows. He entered the novitiate. He left 3 times and came back 3 times also. And each time he wanted to come back, he had to undergo the assessment, like a reapplication. Now, we might have such case of reapplication and readmission. So a person, the scenario is a religious leaves the congregation, whether it be after novitiate, without profession of vows, or the person might have professed vows and then leaves the congregation. Now that person may be readmitted, take note, by the supreme moderator, the general. Okay? The general has to readmit that person. Again, with the consent of the council. Okay? Now, look at what the law says, canon law. Even without the obligation of repeating the novitiate. Meaning, canon law is open to the fact that that person who comes back need not repeat the novitiate. But the way it's formulated, even without, okay, fine, you can admit it. But the major superior or the supreme moderator, the general, may require a repeat of the novitiate, which that person has already done before. Now, the question is, in your opinion, if you were the general, would you require a repeat of the novitiate or no need to repeat the novitiate? And why? Okay, let's try. How about Sister Ana Tenerife? If you were the general of the Siervas de Jesus, and one of your sisters left and then came back, would you require a novitiate or not? Sister Ana, are you there? How about that? Okay, I will ask the sisters, the Franciscan friar, Sister Gina. Sister Gina, what's your opinion?
Father, for me, it depends on the reason why she left.
Okay, good answer. It depends, no? Okay, yeah, you're right. You're on the right track. Yes?
Yes, it depends on the reason.
Really, yeah.
Maybe if it will not also affect the other members of the institute of her being readmitted.
Okay,
I
what
think
would be the situation when you would require? What would be the situation when you will require a novitiate formation?
maybe if she gave a bad example or a scandal.
Okay, would you admit the person if the person commits a scandal? Siguro hindi, no?
Siguro hindi, Father.
No, there are different situations. For example, the sister, the novice, or even the one who professed temporary vows, left the congregation for a number of years. And then there has been developments for the formation program. So even if she underwent novitiate already before, then that might justify a repeat of the novitiate, no?
Yes, Father.
Yeah, that's one example. Or if the sister, might have had. Remember that the sister who left after novitiate is not the same person who's coming back. Do you agree? You know, they might be the same name, but what's inside and the experiences after leaving the novitiate, after working for some time, whatever, as a teacher or whatever, and he's now coming back, it's not the same person to a certain extent, no? And therefore, a novitiate formation might be useful, no? Okay.
Because Father,
Yes, with the OMI.
because we have to, remain in the house continuously 2 years. So they have to, at least 30, they have to renew. Not, they have to do a novitiate again.
Okay, we have to do a novitiate again. Yeah, for us, the Jesuits, yeah, that example that I gave about this person who left, and come back. Each time he did 2 years novitiate again. And then left again, and then come back again, 2 years novitiate again. So I don't even know why the provincial admitted him a number of times. But anyway, no names. You don't know when it happened. Okay. So now the same general is to determine the appropriate probation prior to temporary profession. No? It may not be a novitiate, but there has to be a kind of probation, even if you will not call it a novitiate, no? Before the person again professes temporary vows, or even if it's the first time he or she is professing temporary profession. Okay, and then of course the general will also determine how many years this person should be in temporary vows before perpetual profession. Again, it's the same thing naman, even if the person is freshly entered the novitiate and then professes temporary vows. It depends. It depends on the provincial how long the person will be in temporary vows before making perpetual profession. So what is important here? The law says any appropriate probation. It can be novitiate. It cannot be novitiate, as long as the goal is achieved, whether this person will be ready to profess temporary vows at the proper time. Now, there are cases of automatic dismissal also. These are grave offenses that are committed when one is ipso iure, automatically should be dismissed. Yeah, one who one who commits heresy, schism, separates from the church, apostasy, if the person abandons the Catholic faith totally. Of course, naman, how can you remain in religious life if you don't accept Christianity anymore? Okay, or asawa, no, contracts marriage or attempts marriage, no. Again, it's automatic dismissal. Now, in these situations, no, there is a process that has to be followed. Okay, the provincial, together with the council, must juridically establish the dismissal, investigate. Totoo bang nangyari? Did it really happen? And then everything has to be documented, no? And so as mentioned, it has to be documented, evidence should be collected, and then to make a declaration that this religious has attempted marriage, this sister with a seminarian. Okay? Does that happen? Of course it happens, no? Now, there are other situations wherein persons may be dismissed. No, I'd like to end here, but I just want to mention, I mentioned it earlier, a person, a religious, remember our obligation of residence, legitimate residence in a community? I mentioned that there have been cases of religious who absent themselves, separate themselves from common life. Some practically abandon religious life, living elsewhere. What Pope Francis said is this, no? If you have a member who for 12 consecutive months separates from the institute without the legitimate permission of the superior, and if the person cannot be contacted, no communication at all, then that person is ipso iure automatically dismissed. Okay, that is the rule, revision of the Code of Canon Law by Pope Francis. He wants to maintain the integrity of common life in our religious congregation. So for if you have sisters among yourselves living away from common life, niho, niha, no word at all. The superior does not even know where he or she is, and she refuses contact with the provincial. 12 months, count 12 months, and she can be automatically dismissed. Okay? But the situation is different, huh? If that religious is in touch, in communication with the provincial, this does not follow. It does not apply. It only applies to situations when the religious nawala, parang bula. No, it disappears like a bubble. That then count 12 months. But if the religious is still in touch, please come back now to our community. And then the sister says, oh yes, I will come back soon. You cannot count 12 months. Because the sister has not really abandoned the congregation. Okay, but that can be a ground eventually for disobedience. If the superior has already decided you have to be back by this time, you give a warning, and we will see in a while the process, and then eventually that sister can be dismissed. Okay, so this has been a heavy topics of entrance and dismissal. So we will continue next week. Just a reminder, LST students and to all students, no classes tomorrow. Sometimes our foreign students, they do not know the situation. They come to class because they don't know the holidays in the Philippines. So tomorrow, the holiday is called Araw ng Kagitingan, the day of bravery, honoring our heroes who fought and died for the country. On Wednesday, that is the Muslim holiday, no? Eid al-Fitr. Now, please, I forgot. Eid al-Fitr is the end of Ramadan, is it? It is the end, of course. The Indonesians will know that. So it's a holiday also in the Philippines. So Tuesday, Wednesday, rest day for the students and for us also. Okay, let's conclude our class with a prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, we thank our Lord, our risen Lord, for this gift of joy and hope as we continue with our mission of formation and accompaniment of religious vocation. We ask you, risen Lord, to always keep us inspired, keep us always with the energy to serve you through our ministry that we are doing right now. We ask for the guidance of our Blessed Mother to share with us her joy at the resurrection of her Son. So we pray the Hail Mary. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. See you next week.
Thank you very
Father.
much.
Bye. See you next week.
Bye, Father.
Thank you. Bye-bye.